You're listening to the Comedy Food Truck Podcast. We talk life, food, relationships, and have fun with all of it. And now here's your host, comedian John Hill.
Every time. It's so sad now.
You just grunt?
Yeah, because every time I hear comedian John Hill, it cracks me up. Because when we started this, that was true.
Yeah.
I don't know now. Yes. I don't know now. It's a little different now.
You're still a comedian.
Thank
Still
you,
mildly
sir.
funny.
Thank you. Once in a while, I stumble into it.
Mildly entertaining.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I hope your Halloween went safe and sound. And,
Well, it's today.
oh, it's today.
It is today, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
Forgot.
New.
Hope your Halloween will be safe and sound.
Yeah.
But anyhow, good to have everybody on the show. We got a big show today. We got a huge, I can't do Donald Trump, but we got like a huge show because we have a special guest. And I know for many of you, we promise you interviews for how many episodes now?
Like 300.
200.
We're into 300 or something. Is it 300 episodes?
No,
Well,
this
we've been promising for 300, but
Yeah.
we're at episode
This
200.
is 202.
Okay,
yeah.
we're 200 plus episodes and we've had like 6 interviews. But this is going to be one of them.
Not
So I'm excited for that.
Out of all the shows, this is our most recent.
Lucky number 7.
This is the one we're recording today. So I want to introduce everybody. Go around the table a little bit. So or on your YouTube Disney. What is it? Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Brady Bunch little thing. But anyhow, Jared's here. And,
I am.
And the theme of every week is you're listening to us because Jared's here. Because he's the tech. He runs it all. He makes the Google Sphere work.
Oof.
Google Sphere.
All the bells and whistles.
Google Sphere.
The Google Sphere.
As long as you have an iPhone.
No, he can do it. He can do it. He does
Don't
it
have an
without.
iPhone, don't watch.
And then Scott Topics. No, Scotty,
Hey,
the
hey.
body. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
In the
Too bad I
OC.
couldn't be in there, but next time.
I know, but you know, when you travel space like you do, that's how I
Yep.
feel. I feel like you're like up in the Hubble telescope or something.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Would you call
Yeah.
this microphone earlier?
I'm not gonna
Nope.
trying not to do those things anymore, but that is an intimidating microphone. It is, as we always say, it is like the most intimidating microphone I've ever had.
Was it Dolomite?
You're
Easy.
yeah, Dolomite.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
That is Dolomite.
Steady, steady,
Yeah.
steady.
Stop it, man.
Gosh.
Blur the video.
Horrible. That
Over
is
the black
so
box.
Blur
bad.
that out, yeah.
It is so bad. I know.
Oh,
No.
that was like the dog with me when I walked in.
Sorry about that.
Wow.
Please
Yeah.
don't sue us.
Too soon. Too
That
soon.
is a dog view. Yeah. And then Ray's here.
Hi, John.
Ray, what's happening, man?
Oh, you know, I'm doing my thing.
Doing your thing. He's the only one that has a light. I know we go over this because of his
Yeah.
where he sits. It's just
It's,
too
and
dark.
also, he always wears a hat.
Oh, and he wears the hat, so we're just trying to light him up a little bit. Okay, yeah. I just think it's cool. It looks like a makeup light, you know,
It is, pretty much.
like a mirror behind him.
Yeah.
Makes me look old.
He's got the glasses.
not the
He's got
light.
the glare.
It's got the glare.
Put a
Yeah.
little Sybil Shepherd moonlighting filter on me.
Yep.
Kind of soften all this. Thanks.
206 episodes, 198 of them in the Jeep hat.
I have 2 Jeep hats. I alternate them.
They're the same color.
One's brown, one's brown.
This is my Jeep hat, Daryl. My other Jeep hat, Daryl. And then
I have other hats, but they're inappropriate for the show.
they're inappropriate.
They're inappropriate.
Why? Because of what they have on them, or what? They're the
No.
Jeep hats. But and no Jeep got inappropriate. But they didn't cost much. They're Jeep.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah.
And then our special guest
Yeah.
on our very special episode.
Special.
Yeah, a friend of
Nice.
mine. I would even say a semi-mentor of mine in the comedy world.
And vice versa.
Maybe, but I really think so. This is Mike Cano. First of all, let me
Yes.
introduce Mike Cano.
Whoops, wrong one.
Make them feel welcome. There we go.
Wow,
That's good. That
welcome,
was-
Mike.
They wanted Kevin Hart. And you guys got Mike
We settled
Cano.
for the same height.
The short, i.e. Mexican version.
Right. Yeah, we could.
Discount Kevin Hart.
There it is.
That's
I'm
funny.
the
The
DD's version.
Witch Kevin Hart.
I don't know. Have you been at it longer though? Than I don't know how long Hart's been doing it. But
No, Kev's been longer than me. I met him when I was like younger, when I was like before he blew up, right when he did like Soul Plane and just started
Oh,
on
yeah.
his way and he started selling at
Yeah.
improvs. I met him at Bray Improv and
Wow.
we stood next to each other. I'm fatter now, but at the time I was a lot skinnier and they called me his Mexican mirror. We like sat next to each, like stood next to each other. You know when you stand next to another
Yeah.
short guy, you did a little
Yeah.
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, it's your Mexican mirror."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I've never stood next to another short guy.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
That's great.
invigorating.
I'm sure it is.
Yes.
I'm sure. But Mike is a full-time comic as well as
Nice.
a business. Like, he doesn't just do comedy. He books it. You're a business entrepreneurial comedian.
I do comedy for everything you could imagine. Even the stuff that
Right.
you say, we probably shouldn't put comedy in that. I still put it in there.
I know.
We
Right.
figure out a way.
So, I mean, on any given week, honestly, there's multiple shows going on. You're not even in all those shows.
No, I rarely post all the stuff. I kind of feel posting's like social media is its own job, and I try to
that's
keep
true.
up with it as far as promoting. But
Yeah.
you got to like post before the show, leading up to it, at the show, experiencing it, and then like the post show thank yous and hit us up again. And dude, when we're doing like golf tournaments and senior homes and school, it gets a little weird.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, you have shows during the day. You have shows. I mean, because I know, like you said, you do stuff with schools.
Yeah.
You do senior centers even at time, right?
Yeah.
Some of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is like real comedy. In all honesty, we always see the big stars that come, and that happens to a few lightning strikes, and they get their little season. But you are out there like all the time, and raising money for people and all that other stuff, utilizing comedy to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I try. I mean, can I say people's names on this and stuff like that?
whatever.
So
Yeah,
a comedian that I met real early was Shang.
Okay,
And he's like,
sure.
he was a big comedian when I first met him, and I remember him from TV and Martin, other stuff like that. And then
know
he
he's in Martin.
kind of crushed my spirit, not like on purpose. He didn't mean to do it, but he was telling me, like, you can't do comedy and be successful and have a family.
Really?
It's one or the other. Like, if you're going to be a successful comedian on the road, your family relationship's going to go.
Wow.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. And I think he was just going through something himself at that point, and he's been through a lot more than me and for a lot longer, but
Sure.
it changed my view right away. That was like my second month in comedy. So instead of like going the traditional route, I was like, you know what? I got to find a way to make money in comedy because I was a single dad back then.
Sure.
And I was like, I just can't do this comedy. But so I started producing shows right away, and then it became producing shows for everything.
Well, so then, I mean, obviously you get a chance to control things, schedules, even maybe the money, all that kind of good stuff. So that's good. But I also think, I mean, I knew Shang a little bit. I mean, I don't even know if he'd know who I was now, but I did a couple of shows where he was the headliner, and I was some fundraisers, whatnot. And I mean, he's a pretty powerful guy when he's up there performing. He's not clean.
Oh yeah, he hits him with
Not
that
even
boom,
close.
boom, boom,
Yeah,
rapid
yeah, he
fire. I was
just
like,
goes,
whoa.
Right. But I also noticed, and I know, surprised even a little bit here. I guess he's done some TV and some of that, but he strikes me as a prototypical, like club comic. Like he's grinding. I mean, I could see where that'd be hard to have a
'cause,
family if you're on the road all the time.
If you start in the 80s, I think it's different where
Okay.
he started. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I started not in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Was way different. But in the 80s, everyone wanted their sitcom, everyone wanted their comedy special, everyone wanted to headline clubs and make a living like that, and that's how most comics, that's how they roll. But ever since we started, because I've been 16 years, how long?
12, something like that.
Like it, for us, like clubs were like we're like, this isn't gonna pay the bills forever. We're not gonna be able to do this. We gotta figure out a different way.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, everybody say, even those guys will say it. I mean, there's super huge money obviously in TV and movies, all that, but beyond that, it's like corporate. It's private. It's churches. It's things like that because they just pay more. And and in order to do that, a lot of times you have to be clean.
Yeah, and it's a wave of success. Like,
Right.
as you know, like every show we do, there's always comics that have been on TV and this and that. And then the wave subsides and you're like, oh, you're back at my restaurant. You're back at my bar. You're back at my show. Okay. But I get it. And I saw so much of that's why I was like, okay, I got to at least build something consistent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's always flowing in. I can support my family and then chase the dream.
Yeah.
So what for you, like, just so the audience knows, like a typical week, say throughout, or a month even, what, if you even have this number, what the number of shows that you either produce and or perform in?
So my goal is to do 4 to 5 events a week, at least minimum.
Yeah.
And it's all over the place. And what I try to do is stagger it. Of course, every Friday, Saturday, I book out for like the whole year. And those are like comedy shows, fundraisers, comedy clubs. Like this Saturday, we're doing a gala for, at Morongo Casino.
Yeah.
But it's for a pantry, a food pantry.
Right.
Out there in like Beaumont, out there. So like,
Yep.
we're doing a big show at a big venue, raising good money. We get paid well as well, but in the end, we're gonna raise a lot of money to feed
good.
that whole community.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are like win-wins on the weekends. Those are cool. But during the day, we do like events for IEHP, events for the 66ers, corporate stuff,
Right.
Senior community shows, school assemblies while school's in session, and even those have seasons too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is our going away assembly. This is our anti-bully assembly. This is our red ribbon week, and whatever it is, we kind of go through all those seasons.
Ray has like a side business, balloons and stuff. So I know there's a similar meaning. It may not be similar to comedy, but I'm saying there's a rhythm, there's a season,
Yes.
there's times when it's higher, and you know what to hit and who to go talk to, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's August like for you? Nothing happens in August for me. August is August is.
Is that because school's out?
I'm ready.
Well, school's coming back now.
Even my suppliers say nothing happens in August, and it's like August is like the worst month of the year for the event industry.
Really? How big are your balloons, bro? It's like hot air balloons. No one wants to get that close to the sun, or what?
Right?
Like, August, you're gonna fry them up there. Then come down like little rotisserie chickens up there.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the heat. Yeah, like you said, it's hot. Nobody just plans anything. Nothing happens. It's just it's like a weird month.
There's just a little difference though, because the events you're talking about, like weddings and some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's some overlap because I know you've emceed. What do you call them? What's
Yeah,
after the wedding?
The reception.
Receptions.
Yeah.
We've done stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the industry for you, but maybe you got to pivot to something else like Latinos, Mexicans. We party year round, bro.
That's funny.
So if you go straight Mexican every, you know what I mean? You get
There
the
you go.
red,
Right.
the green, the white
Right,
balloons every
right.
August, bro.
Yeah.
They
You're
just
gonna kill
market-
it. You'll
market to
set up
that.
all the quinceañeras. You'll kill it.
There you go.
You'll kill it, man.
Now, do you have a downtime like during the year for comedy? Like, is there a
When I
time
started,
where it gets really
when
quiet?
I started, it used to be, but not anymore. Now,
Okay, you've got it
now
pretty
there's
solid.
seasons. Yeah, because baseball takes up a lot now. Too.
Oh, yeah.
I MC for these guys right here.
That's right. Yeah, he MCs a
66ers.
local minor league team.
Yeah, for
Nice.
the
Inland
Angels,
Empire, yeah.
single A
Yeah.
affiliate.
It's fun. I've been there when he was there doing it. It's cool. It's a
Nice.
good job. I like it.
It's fun. I'm like a cheerleader. I'm like one of the male cheerleaders going
Yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's
But
fun.
it keeps me sharp. I got to joke with the crowd. I got to do stuff with the old people, the young people. And
Yeah.
I would say, what's weird is I don't tell people this, but it's probably one of the most rewarding things we do at comedy.
Yeah.
Because comedy's a lot of fun and there's those stories we have that
Sure.
changed our lives.
Right.
Like, oh, this old lady made me cry.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But with this, dude, people just enjoy life. Like there's so many older people there that bring the young kids. Like I grew up here. You don't understand. I want
Right.
my grandson to have such a good experience today. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever I got going on in my life, let me just flush that down.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And let me just make this kid have a great day today.
Nice.
Let me,
Yep.
these teens right here checking out the cheerleaders. I'm like, I sat down at like good seats, right, guys? And, and then some of these
hilarious.
players, man, getting to know them. I didn't know how the players things all was. I didn't know
Yeah.
enough about baseball. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, these are just kids too.
They are. Yeah.
Kids from the Dominican living 6-in-1 apartments sometimes.
That's
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just hoping they can make it. Yeah.
Yeah, because some have contracts, some don't. So
Right.
some come in there with money,
Right.
some don't.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
are trying to make the money, even though they're
Totally.
all on the teams.
Totally. Yeah.
And they trade them like Pokemon cards, bro. There's
Right.
scouts
They
there
move them
from
around.
every team.
They
Yeah,
move them so quick.
Pokemon.
they
Yeah.
collect them all, bro.
Or you got the guy who's like 30 something and he's still trying to.
Bro,
come
yeah, they
back.
brought in one
Yeah.
dude from like the Mexican League, big old belly. I'm like, what kind of? What's the one
You
with
look
his,
like Fernando. Maybe this could be some mania
Big
coming.
sloppy.
his kids are all papi, papi? I'm like, dang, you got grandbabies in the audience. But those dudes are hitting homers, bro. They bring him over from the
In
Mexico
the
League.
audience, he's playing with his
'cause
nephew.
They
yeah.
have to
Yeah.
because they can't run. They
Yeah,
got it. That's all they got.
Yeah, he's
They
a home
can't
run
get on.
hitter.
They can't get on
They want
base
to
if
do
they
like
don't get it on.
softball style. Can I just run to first and go to the dugout?
Oh, yeah.
I have to round the bases.
Oh yeah, that's what they're all about.
That's fun, man. No, that's cool. The thing about it is, it's same with comedy. Michael Jr. is one of the guys that I like a lot. I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever heard of him, but
Yeah.
he has this TED talk, but he talks about being the punchline. And the point he's trying to say is like life, there's all this setup, there's all this stuff, but if you can come and relieve stress, you can come and help people laugh for a night, do things, and you give to comedy. He said it changed his comedy world when instead of going in and saying, what can I get from an audience, he started doing shows where he says, what can I give to the audience?
Yeah, when did you hit that point? When did you say it ain't about me?
Honestly, I kind of started a little bit like that, but where it helped me get over the nerves. This is gonna sound crazy, but I think it might have been one of your shows. But it was in that stretch where we were at the Improv and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was getting so nervous, and there was, and I didn't want to mess up, and all that. And kind of like you said earlier, it's like I realized like this is not the route for me to any kind of big life or anything, is being in the comedy clubs. So, and I heard that talk actually, and then I did a show where I said, I'm just gonna give to this audience, like, right, we're just gonna go after it. And I came out with more energy, whatever, because the nerves, it's always nervous, but there was that sort of imposter syndrome thing was gone.
Yeah, and in comedy, it's not just imposter syndrome. It's like still divided by race.
Yeah,
there's
true.
chocolate Sundays and
True.
slanted and wetback Wednesdays. And you think I'm joking? Refried Fridays.
Oh
like,
my God.
okay,
They
I know
do the shows. He's talking about in the club. They do the shows. And they
it's
call
still
them these
very
things.
like split up
Yeah.
racially. So I try to diversify a lot, and it even as far as comedy goes,
Makes a
so
huge difference.
like we
Yeah.
just did a church that was all black.
Okay.
Only white guy, only Mexican in the whole church.
That's
Couple
the guy
hundred
with-
people.
The guy with the limo driver.
Oh,
I
yeah,
did the
yeah.
show.
Oh,
I talked. I'm glad you brought it up because a couple episodes ago I talked about how amazing that show was. The show itself was really great, but even just the side stuff of being in the limo, and then just the way I told them this, and I want to say it while you're here again, the best like 6 minutes of comedy. I mean, I'm talking about anywhere. I don't care if it's Cosby, anybody. When you lit that guy up, when you went up and opened up that, I mean, because Romeo. Wait, what? No, sorry, Rome.
Mac Rome
Was up there, and he was so nervous because he was. I telling these guys trying to avoid saying something because it was a church show, and he typically not in church shows clean. Wasn't his first clean show?
First clean show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
At
he
a
was
church.
He was so methodical, and he did great. But he was just thinking. In fact, the second time he went there, he was much more comfortable. But the first time, that it needed a little, and Mike came in and just slayed that audience, and mostly all black folks with Mike.
99.99%. And I know we can make anyone laugh, but but when it comes down to it, and you're talking opinion and life stories, and that, not everyone sees the same perspective. Everyone's got a different, and I feel like for me personally, I feel like black audiences, like you got to come fast. You can't slow it down. You got to be like boom, boom, boom. Show me the funny, or give me my money. Like that's it. And
That's absolutely
for
right.
me, I got in this rhythm of talking about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Like if I don't talk
Yes.
about it, it's gonna
Yes.
bug me.
Yeah.
If I don't talk about, dude, what's up with your ceiling?
Right.
If I don't talk about that limo drive that we waited 2 hours
Yes.
for
Yes.
we could have drove there in 45 minutes, but we waited 2 hours for a limo. The limo picks us up. It's 100 degrees
something.
inside
Yeah.
the
Oh my
limo.
gosh. Yes.
And that guy
Yes.
takes every side street. So we get there in like an hour and a half. I'm like, why did we take 3.5 hours to
It
go
was
45
funny.
minutes and
It
we're
was
drenched in sweat?
So funny. And then he's in the show. I mean, he's sitting, he's watching. And Mike starts on him, and I'm watching the guy because I'm like, is he getting it?
Yeah.
I guarantee the first 3 minutes he didn't even know you were talking about him.
Yeah.
And then it starts to clue in, like, they're talking about me, And then, it was so funny. Yeah.
But then you guys all piggybacked. Every
Right.
comic went up
Right.
after that and was
Yeah.
like, oh
Right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then this, and
Yeah.
then this.
Yeah, it was fun.
By the
It
time
was
we're
fun.
going home, we're like, all right, call an Uber. This guy's not taking us. Like,
I didn't think he would, but he loved it.
yeah.
He was like, this is so
Hey,
great.
And he made sure the AC was
Did he
cold.
not? He pulled the way it was icy in
He put
there.
ice in there.
Yeah, he's like, you guys need
Open
anything
the
else?
door.
Yeah, it changed everything. But it was funny. But to me, that's like you said earlier, that's changing someone, not just him, but the whole audience, just changing their day. Some of my favorite comments after shows when people come up and go, I haven't laughed in like 3. They just lost a spouse or something. I haven't laughed, and they're, in fact, one show I picked on a lady that didn't know that she had lost her spouse like a month or 2 before, and she didn't bring it up. I was just doing crowd work and just happened to land on her, and we just did some jokes. I don't remember what they were about, and she just was cracking up. And there were people who came to me, other people knew her. You have no idea. And then she came up, she was in tears. She's like, I haven't laughed like that in a while, but even in the last few months, I've never laughed at all.
Wow.
And you helped me, and I'm like,
Was that the moment that
it's one of those moments where you're like, that's what you want to do, right? That's what you
Mine
want.
was at a Lori Jepsen show.
Okay.
A Lori Jepsen weekend.
Yeah.
Lori Jepsen runs like a Christian singles things at some
For the
churches
area,
around
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But as far as comics go, sometimes they're like, oh, we got to go away for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're up in the woods and
Right.
sharing a cabin. I'm like, I don't know these
I love
people.
Lori, but tell the rest of the story because I love Lori. But it's a weekend, which wouldn't be so bad. But you're not getting paid for a weekend.
Yeah, you're not getting paid for it. You get like a
You might not
30
even-
minute like rate for 30 minutes for
You
like
might not even get your own room.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Who says it? Lamont Bauman. What does he say about God? Where he says, when someone asks you to give it for God or do it for God, it means you're not getting paid. He said, when you hear a pastor say, let the Lord use you, just know you ain't getting paid.
Right. Or when they say, oh, well, come do a show, we'll do a love offering. You're like, no, you're not getting it. There's no love there. That's
But because I had that change moment is why I will always do her weekends if I can.
Sure.
It's hard because sometimes I got to support the family too. And they're like,
well, and you set me up a couple times with her because I did some one weekend, one as a speaker and one as a speaker and a comic.
Yeah.
That was a tough gig because it's hard to be a speaker and try to, pull people into a place, with God, and then 10 minutes later you're like, okay, everybody,
your wife with the snake killing it.
Right. Yeah, then you try to make people laugh. Yeah, it's like, that's not the way the same. Mm-hmm. But it was still fun. I mean, and I tell people all the time, I mean, your shows have always been because you're right, you do put diversity up. I love the shows, frankly, because Mike's not always clean either, or his shows aren't.
I'm a comedian that happens to be Christian. I'm not a Christian comedian.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell people. Like pastors Google me, I'm like, you don't need to come to our church. I've done the Praise Network and Trinity Broadcast too. It's just the people that walk into your church, they don't all act like that. Just so you guys know,
no, it's just real.
They don't all act like that when they leave this church. And if we had videos of them on the weekend, all right, no one would be in this church.
But what I will say about you though that I've noticed is, and this is what I've always liked, is you use language, but you don't really have. I mean, I haven't really remember anything. Maybe back in the day, but I remember very few things in your sets. You use language, but it's not what's the word? Not graphic descriptions of stuff and all that kind of garbage. So to me, it's it's. I understand the church thing because what they don't want is grandma somebody saw you and went home with grandma. So you guys see this kid, he's great because you were clean at the church, and they watch a YouTube and it's like grandma's like, what? You know, that's what they worry about. But the reality is, I love doing your shows when all the other comics are not going to be clean. Because I think it helps to stand out.
Yeah, I feel like Sizzle was like that at first. When I first got Sizzle on my shows, he's like, put me first. I'm like, why? He's like, because after you do clean. Once you do dirty, you can't do clean. But
I disagree.
I disagree too. I feel like everyone connects with people differently.
Yes.
They really do, no matter what.
Here's the thing, funny's funny.
Yeah.
And another comment I like is when people say, man, I just thinking about what you were funny. And he's like, you never said anything dirt. Like, no. Like, they don't even register in the moment.
I feel like Sinbad. That's like the Sinbad funny.
Right.
Where Sinbad's just funny. Yeah. And at the end, you're like, oh, he was clean.
Right.
Yeah.
But he talked about so much stuff, you're like, wait, was he clean? This dude talking about everything. You really rolled that line. Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, no, he was clean.
Yeah, and it makes you stand out. I like it. Again, you talk about the moment before and after. Before I kind of realized, just give it to the audience, I was always like Sizzle, nervous. Like, oh, man, it's going to be tough. But then after, and actually I hate going first now because I also like to be able to, I feel like I'm like a guy in a basketball game that doesn't want to start because I want to read the game. I want to see how everything's going. I want to see how the crowd's going, what's hitting, what's not. That helps me then go up and do my thing.
Gives you material, yeah.
When I have to open, and that's probably a lot of comics say they don't like to open, but then sometimes I'm more confident now opening just because, well, let me just go kill them. And then set the tone.
And it depends on who you open for. Like I've developed this thing where I've hosted so much and I wasn't open for so long that I'm high energy.
Yeah.
So a lot of comedy shows build momentum. To start with the slow comic and then medium comic. But if I start high energy, the next person's got to be it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had an issue one time, a couple times where I would do so good and then the opener not. And then it's like, Mike, be less funny. Because you're making it way too hard on the opener, and I was like, just no openers.
But at the same time, but here's the thing.
Those out.
But so I used to be that guy that would follow like you or Sizzle C, or because they're very high energy. JT Turner's another guy in the local, and if you're not local, it's okay. I apologize, but he's not quite. Funny. He doesn't have quite the same energy as you and say Sizzle do. He's a little more.
He's a good medium energy. He could go up and down. He could go a little bit higher. He could go a little bit lower.
And he does a lot more crowd work. I mean, he almost all exclusively relies on the crowd. But the thing is one time I was following, and JT was in the show too. He was going to go last, and it was Sizzle's show. He opened up, did his typical like I'm gonna bring it up in 10, and Sizzle did 45 minutes. As the opener, like as the host. I mean, as
the host. That Rock House this last week too. But he had to get him going. This was a little rough.
45 and 4 different times. I'm gonna bring the next comic. You guys ready? And then he goes to another thing. So I'm sitting back there.
It's like somebody's dead on the operating table and they keep bringing them back.
The headliner, Kanisha, last week told him, "Why'd you even bring us?
Right.
Y'all should have just said, come here to see me."
Right. Which is, well, Sizzle would be fine if they would do it. But the thing is so JT pulls me aside, he goes, listen. And he gives me an incredible tip that I now use every time since then, where you got to bring them to your energy. So he says, and I remember this very vividly, and I used it since, and I remember doing one show also with you and Mel where I didn't do well in the beginning. And you guys were both like, I was trying new stuff. I was doing all this weird stuff. And you were like, don't do that. Just do your stuff. And those two things put together in this show, I mean, says like, just da-da-da. And I go up there and he announced me. Everybody's cheering. And I go up there. And I literally, for like 20 seconds, just stood there looking at everybody.
Just let him calm down.
Let them all.
And then, this is not going to be as fast as the last guy.
And then my first word, what's up? And everybody just starts laughing, right? And I said, I think Sizzle needs a little more energy. And then, they go nuts. And then I start mine. Because, my set starts kind of, and I build as I go in my set. Mm-hmm. So by the time I'm in, I'm doing Snake, they're back up again.
Yeah.
But the point is, JT had told me, like, this is how you do it. You bring them down and then bring them back up.
And JT does do that. He'll come up like, listen.
Yep, exactly.
He'll go slow.
That's what he said. He said, the words, he said, you need to make it your crowd. Mm-hmm. Sizzle just made it his crowd. Now make it your crowd. Mm-hmm. And that's
reset.
Why. Because what I used to do was go out there and be like, and I ran out of my own rhythm.
Yeah, you're like,
and then I would bomb, and it wasn't good. And so, it's the thing is years in the game, I guess, if you call it that, you do learn these things.
Yeah, and, over time. That's the hard thing about comedy. Is there's no write-ups. You just your write-up is bombing.
Yeah,
it's infinite write-ups.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can
get reprimanded by the crowd,
and sometimes you could kill with something on one crowd, and you go to another crowd, and it just falls flat.
And that's the hard thing with doing like multiple shows in the day. Right. Sometimes, like during the day, it's kind of still. At night, it kills, or vice versa. I'm like, this killed earlier.
They're all sober now.
Yeah. Why do you guys hate me? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why do you guys hate me? Again, it's fun because I did an Elks Club once, and there was they drank for an hour and a half before the show started.
Jeez.
Nice.
Gosh.
It was like in an Elks Club, but it wasn't the Elks Club. But they had these people. It was up in Ukaipa, and it was packed. They had 175. You know what I'm talking about? I think it might have been your show.
Yeah.
Or Mel. It was either Mel or you sent me over there, and they had guys ahead of me, and they were obviously dirty, and they saw the drinking, and they played into it, and all. And then I get up there, it's like, but I did the JT thing, and I started bringing, man. It is. I kid you. I hate when people are drunk, but it is kind of fun. Drunk people be like, Pastor, Father. They're calling me. And then the funny thing is, I
asking for holy water. I'm not even that kind of guy. Just give me any blessing.
And I'm clean the whole way.
Doing the angels in the outfield wings.
That's funny. Go, Pastor. I tell the story about being a pastor. Tell the story about all this, not drinking, not cussing, the whole thing, the whole way. And still, right as soon as the show's over, some dude goes, "Come on over. I'm buying you a drink." I'm like, I just told you I don't drink, man.
Yeah.
And it was just funny, but I'm not saying I can hit in every crowd, but there were things earlier that I would struggle with majorly. And it's one of the goals of mine was to say, I just want to be funny wherever I'm at, but stay me. Cause I saw so many guys who are pretty good even, like you mentioned, it's in a dirtier show, they would go dirtier.
Yeah.
Then they really fits them. Like it doesn't even, and they're not good at it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do like some Johnny Herrera shows and bring up the old material when I was single and hooking up and this and that. And they're like, yeah, give me that. I'm like, as long as you don't post it for my wife to see.
Right.
I'll do the throwback jokes. But it's not, I'm happily married now, guys.
That's hilarious.
It's another life.
There's one room I never conquered, and it's in, I think it's Temecula, but it's an Irish pub that's over there.
Oh, Shamrocks is loud.
I could never get them.
It's because half of them are there for comedy, half of them are there to drink.
And it was a full house.
And that's why, as a producer of a show, you got to make it good for everybody. And it's harder than you think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to make it good for the crowd, number one. You got to make it good for the owners, lucrative, and you got to make it good for the comics.
Right.
That's it. Because if you get that little symbiotic thing, then it's like, oh man, we're killing on a good crowd. If not, like some of those guys worked all day and they were there for a drink with their friends, and you're doing comedy, and they're just like, shut the heck up, dude. Yeah. I'm here for a drink. Like I just put in 12 hours. I'm sunburned. I don't care about what you got going on. Your feet don't touch the floor when you sit on the toilet. I don't care. You know what I mean? But I'm like up there trying to tell them, no, my feet don't touch, and people try to come to my stall,
That's
and I'm
hilarious.
like, you know, like they don't
hilarious.
care, bro.
Well, the worst part is how many times have you followed other guys who are kind of beginner and they're just terrible.
Yeah.
And that makes it worse because now they get belligerent. I mean, the audience.
Yeah, because they're like, oh,
They
these
wanna
guys
heckle.
aren't funny.
Yeah,
They're
they're
right
not
off.
even
All these
funny.
guys aren't funny.
Right.
Like this.
Yeah. And
You gotta work twice as hard to get them back.
it was tough. I haven't done that room. I don't even can't remember, but
That's why I don't have a lot of openers, man. I think a lot of
Right.
openers don't like me because I won't book them or get. But it's just like,
Yeah.
look, I need you to kill 20 minutes. I don't care if you've been in it 2 years or 20 years.
just do it. Yeah.
20 minutes kill.
Yeah.
And your killing might be an urban room or
Right.
a country club or
Right.
you never know what it is. And I'll try to place them.
Yeah.
But
That's funny. Yeah, that's good.
just kill for 20 minutes.
How many comics do you network with for all these shows you do? I mean, like, what's your list of guys that you might call?
Well, it's in
about?
my phone right there. I
Yeah.
can't grab my phone.
Oh, you have an estimate? Like,
I think the last time I checked was about 168.
168.
Dang.
But I had, we had a lot of comics die, dude.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, a lot of comics passed, dude. And I was like going through my
Guys,
phone,
you know,
like,
not like the famous
yeah,
guys,
you know,
right?
like the 6 foot of Slim.
Oh yeah, 6 foot. That was a great. Oso passed away.
Oso, you didn't know
I
Oso
didn't know
passed,
that.
bro?
No.
Bro, it was so sad. Like
He's a
there's
good guy.
there's a lot of them. Joe Cholo, a bunch of other like you just start going down the line. And
Joe
Bradley
Cholo
Walker passed away.
Well, he
remember
was
his
old.
Sizzle's friend. Like,
He
but
was-
you just keep going. And there's a lot more. And I was just like, I didn't realize it until I was going through my phone. It was like this post-COVID life. You're like, oh
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you don't want to delete it. You
Yeah.
kind of feel like a jerk.
Yep.
You know, I say a little prayer. I love you, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, pour out my kombucha.
It's Halloween though. What would be weird if you like reached out to some guy that you didn't know passed away, but he did, and then he reached and he told him to reach back.
I always get scared of that. Like maybe they're gonna text. Someone's gonna text for that phone number. I'm like,
Wait a minute.
He's like, yeah, sure, I'll do the show. Give me a minute.
yeah, you stole my bid. Oh no, you weren't here anymore, bro. With that. Yeah.
What is the ethics on that? I'm just kidding. Like,
I-
if somebody
shoot,
I'll
passed,
show you for taking my name out of your phone.
He's so funny. I like that he's on the big screen.
yeah. In the studio, Scott's on the
Yeah,
screen.
he looks like that one guy. Who's the one guy?
Guy Fieri.
No, might as well be walking on the sun.
Oh, Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
The lead singer for Smash Mouth.
He
passed away too.
He just died too,
He
bro.
just
Be
died too.
careful.
I'm just gonna say that.
Take your vitamins,
I didn't
bro.
know
Take
that.
your vitamins.
I didn't know he died.
Yeah,
Wow.
just recently.
So the dude's like on his deathbed in the hospital, and he's like, I think I'm not gonna make it through the night, man. And you just walk in and you're like, hey, can I take your material?
Hey, bro, I love
Hey,
you. I'm
can
gonna
I take
take
your
care
bit?
of your material.
Can I take your bit?
That's
Dude,
hilarious.
that one bit you have about blah blah. You're not gonna use it, bro. You're not gonna use it.
Where do you keep your binder with all your material in it?
That's
awesome.
sad, but that does need to be
Yeah.
passed on. If it's not recorded, that should be passed on.
Yeah.
Maybe it
feel
should
like
just be. Yeah, if it's not, just right. Because otherwise, somebody's gonna be telling like the dentist bit again. You know, now that Cosby's off the scene. You know, so,
Right.
Can I do the dentist thing?
Yeah.
To be one. Who are some comics that I always just get interested in this stuff because you hear it, but maybe you know more than I do. But who are some? Maybe you shouldn't say it because maybe they'll get mad at you. But are there people that are kind of names that are accused, I guess, or people think they steal stuff?
Hey guys, pardon the interruption, but we hope you've enjoyed our first half of our interview with comedian Mike Cano. We're going to get the answer to that question and many, many more, and more hilarity will ensue next week here on the Comedy Food Truck Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Comedy Food Truck and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're at it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week.